Okay, guys, we are live and live in the house in living colors. You can see the smile from a mile, you can see the hairstyle from a distance. I could not be more pleased tonight to have with us this beautiful young lady, natural beauty, and as you can see, shining like a star. Here we have Rochelle Farquharson with us tonight. This is her second time, on the stage being interviewed by Ian, and her first time on Ian and Ian Real Talk. During that interview, we actually went deep into her athletics career. But tonight, we just want to dig a little further and go into the entrepreneurial side, the author, the banker. So we all know Rochelle hails from the beautiful parish of St. Elizabeth and a little community called Warminster. Warminster, that's how we pronounce it, St. Elizabeth. And we're just going to ask Rochelle to take us back to her hometown, the beautiful parish of St. Elizabeth and the community of Warminster. But before that, we all just going to welcome her to the platform. Rochelle, welcome to Together We Rise, Building Our Nation.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you so much for having me on again. It is a privilege, and I'm honored to be here to, talk with you guys a little bit and to share a bit of my story. So thank you again.
All right, Rochelle. So we're going to start with your hometown, your community, growing up in a rural part of St. Elizabeth. Not everyone knows about Warminster. Could you just spread a little light on your community and tell us what it was like as a child growing up there?
Absolutely. So as you know, I'm from Warminster, St. Elizabeth, a little town about 12 minutes outside of Santa Cruz, where I went to, Stets. But Warminster, that was a great time for me growing up as a child. It's a small rural town, full of, entrepreneurial people, small, farmers, business people, shop owners. So it was more, as they call it, the countryside, the rural countryside of St. Elizabeth. As a child growing up, it was a great experience, as I mentioned before. It was a small community feel. It was a community where everyone looked out for, other people's kids, and we respected the elders. We had our parents taught us to have respect for everyone. It was a situation where everyone knew everyone, and it was just all around love. So that was where I guess my journey started to becoming who I am today.
Well, thank you for spreading the light on the beautiful Warminster. And just so you know, just about 15-20 minutes away from you, I live just overlooking the beautiful town of Junction, St. Elizabeth, a little community called Melsom. Not much people would know about Melsom. But as I know, growing up as a child, we have a few difficulties, with our water situation, and it's a farming community, so water is essential. And at that time, also getting taxi to go to school was a big problem. So as a young lady growing up there in Warminster, could you tell us some of the difficulties that you guys face in this community?
So as you mentioned, the taxi issue and getting to school on time. And if you ask Mr. Keith Wallington, I unfortunately was one of the latecomers who was locked out in the mornings because because of the difficulty of getting a taxi to come to school, to come to Santa Cruz. So that was one of the issues living in such a small rural town. I think the other big thing for us was the fact that we were located close to Alpart, the backside company, and my dad actually worked there for over 25 years. But the big issue with that was the caustic soda that would blow like over the community and would kill the trees and stuff like that. So we had a huge problem with the farmers losing their crops due to the caustic soda that came from the backside company. So that was a huge issue for us. I think another issue that I saw as a young girl was the fact that we didn't have access to, we had one library that I live really close to, and that's where my love for reading and writing began. But we didn't have access to things like internet. We didn't have internet. So I was behind in technology, so to speak. And it wasn't until I, went to school at Stets where I had the opportunity to, go to a lab and sign onto a computer and learn how a computer worked. So that was a huge issue for kids in the community. And hopefully, I want to be an instrumental part in the future in changing that rhetoric for the kids regarding technology. So those are the big issues for me.
Yeah, so those were issues that most of us in that era would have faced. Technology was one of the big ones. Up to this point, I'm really nervous when I have to use certain programs.
Right. Right. I'm
But
just
right now,
learning, even though I'm a quote unquote millennial, I'm still learning about technology and computers and all the gadgets that we have nowadays. So it's not just you.
well, I'm nervous. If I throw out the tablet to my little 3-year-old daughter, she do much far better than I would with it. So that, that's up where I'm with it. But yeah, we know Saint Elizabeth, we're faced with basically all of those issues that you mentioned. All right, Rochelle. So we're gonna speed it up a little. So you mentioned going to Saint Elizabeth Technical High School, and Mr. Wellington would be aware of you showing up late some mornings due to the difficulty of getting to school, getting a taxi and then getting there. So for our viewers, who probably did not join us on our first interview, could you tell us the year that you entered States? And we know you were an athlete, so you could also tell us a little about your early childhood career in terms of athletics.
Absolutely. So for everyone who wants to know, I went to STETS in 2005 and graduated in 2010. And during that time, even before I went to STETS, I was at the Austin Primary School in Marysville. And that's where I think my love for track and field began, but it was honed and developed at STETS. So it wasn't until the latter part of 7th grade going into 8th grade, that's when I decided to join the track and field team. And it was there that it all began for me athletically. And during that time, I was coached by Mr. Milton Brown, but well, a series of coaches, but it was Mr. Milton Brown. It was Mr. Carolee Ricketts, Mr. Philip Davey. And over the years, I, worked with a few different coaches like Mr. Kurt Brooks. He came over for a little bit to work with the girls team. So it was during that time that I recognized that I was that talented in track and field. And, I went on to represent Jamaica and represent stats, at Penn Relays, represent Jamaica at Carifta Games, World Youth Olympics, at the junior and youth level. So that was a huge stepping stone for me. And it was at that point when I went to stats that that talent really got developed. And I saw that, hey, I can really do this. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
All right, so tell them your pet event there, and
Yeah.
your best at Girls Champs.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first girls champs was in 2006. I was in 8th grade. It was in 2006, and I did the 100 meters. I was a sprinter. Trust me, starting out. I did the 100 meters. I did the long jump that year, and I did because I didn't start the triple jump until the year after. But my best events were the long jump and the triple jump. But I did, hurdles. I did the 80-meter hurdles, and then transitioned to the 100-meter hurdles. But my main events were the jumps, the long and triple jump.
Okay, so well-rounded athlete.
Something like that, yes.
All right. So since we're there at St. Elizabeth Technical High School, and we know we're gonna have a few people from the States alumni joining in, we just want to ask you your best memory of St. Elizabeth Technical High School, during your time.
It's easily the track and field aspect. While I love the classroom, and I grew to learn a lot academically, track and field at test was easily the best part of going to the school. It was also going to champs. It was also forming friendships with my teammates. It was also, I think it was the competition for me more than anything else. It was the track and field and the competition. Easily was the best part of the experience for me. But for an all around situation, the academics part, the track and field part, they all work together to make a great experience.
And what was the greatest challenge that you faced while there at St. Elizabeth Technical High?
I think it was learning how to balance track and field and academics and my life, my personal life at home, and finding who I am as a person and learning how to find who I am as a person. So it's learning how to create this equilibrium of all those different aspects of who I am, because it wasn't just track and field. Rochelle wasn't just track and field, or wasn't just academics. It was a situation where I had to learn how to respect myself, respect my teachers, grow as a student athlete. So that aspect was the most difficult. It's just learning how to be an all-around person and working that balance.
Okay, so you mentioned all round person, but now I want to pick at academics, and that is very important because we know after states you went on to university. But
Yes.
while at states, could you tell us what was your major, or which area did you basically take on at 10 and 11th grade?
Yes, I was more in the sciences, and if being introspective and asking myself why I chose sciences, um, I think it would have to be the fact that I was following in my sister's footstep and not necessarily choosing something that I really wanted to do. But I majored in chemistry, physics, biology, food and nutrition, and then you have the mathematics and the English and the the subjects that we all had to take. But I was majoring in the sciences at the time.
Wow, big surprise! Now, top entrepreneur, banker, so a businesswoman, so
Right? It's actually the opposite. The
that.
opposite I did at the time, and even in college too. It's a whole 180 for me. So it's something different.
So, yeah, so I'm seeing that transition. So, a question I would like to ask you, if you could really go back to, you know, being 16, what advice would you have given to your 16-year-old self?
Then it's going to be all right. That's the to the core. That's the bottom line. It's going to work out, and it's going to be all right. Because at 16, I didn't know what it is that I really wanted to do. I had track and field going for me, and I was banking on, going to the Olympics and being a professional athlete. That was one of my aspirations at the time. And but aside from that, I was lost in terms of, you know, what direction to go in after the track and field. Like, what if I didn't make it in track and field? What was my next step? And looking back now, I can tell myself it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. So that's what I would tell my 16-year-old self.
Wow, wow, wow. It's going to be okay. And definitely we can tell that all is well. Looking pretty good, guys. And we need you guys to give her a thumbs up. This hairstyle, I told her as soon as I saw her that it's popping. The hairstyle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just all natural beauty. So guys, you can see Rochelle is doing pretty well, and we're gonna get down to the point where she got to tell us about those magic ingredients that she's using in her hair there. So Rochelle, we basically, we're gonna run out of states, but if somebody wanna hear more of the history of Rochelle and being at states, you could go back and look for the interview on Ian and Ian Real Talk, where we had gone into depth with her time there at States. But tonight, as we say, we really want to get to the entrepreneurial side of Rochelle. So we just gonna step it up and get into college, university, Rochelle. So after States, could you tell us where did you headed?
Absolutely. Yeah, so after graduation, I got a track and field scholarship to Mississippi State University. So that's where I went, and I majored in kinesiology. My goal and my aim at the time was to get into something related to what I was doing, which was track and field. So I majored in kinesiology, clinical exercise physiology, and my goal was to become a physical therapist. During that time, again, trying to balance the academics and the athletics as well. That was a difficult task. Traveling, during the track season, traveling 3 to 4 days out of the week, and having to turn in papers, having to do tests on the road. And that's how I knew I was resilient and I was determined to succeed, because two different things, and balancing, and doing an internship, and there were 5 different things at the time I was juggling. So that's how I learned, hey, you have to be determined, you have to be disciplined, and you have to prioritize things. So during that season of my life, I again was tasked with finding myself, because who I was in high school was a totally different person from the college Rochelle. I was learning to, put away the childish things, so to speak, as a teenager, and walking into something, more monumental or more difficult than I had at the high school level. So it was challenging, but I learned so much about myself, and I graduated, and I came out successful. So that was a great journey and a great experience.
Yes. So right there, before I have you move on to anything else, you just mentioned a very important point in terms of knowing how to balance. As basically I say, teenagers, young adult, we tend to have so much things going on in our life. It's we, it's just juggling like a football, and keep it going. Um, if you should basically advise the young teenagers in terms of career path, and making the right choice and balancing, what would be your word to them?
So there are a few things that I would say. Number one, when I was leaving high school and going to college, I had no idea who I was. And knowing what I do now and what I chose as a major at the time, they're totally different things. Like on the other end of the spectrum from what I studied. One important thing would be to take the time to think about what it is that you want to do. I mean, athletics is awesome, was awesome, and took me so many places that I would never have gone had I not done track and field. But there is life after track and field. If track and field doesn't work out, you must consider, okay, what is it that I want to do? And you probably won't have the answer right away, but it pays to really think about what you want to do academically, and how that will translate into the real world, because track and field ends at some point. And for me, I went through a difficult period where I was, finding what it is that I wanted to do after track and field. So that is something they have to take into consideration, and really put something in place. If not for the child, but the parents can involve themselves, and give advice on how to choose something that not only pays well for them after track and field, but something that they will enjoy and something that they will find purpose doing. The other thing that I would say is um, give your academics attention, just the same as you're killing it on the track. You're traveling and going places, but your academics require attention, require what's the word I'm looking for? Priority. So just try to find a balance in what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. And I know any teenager or young adult that is listening, that's advice that you may want to hold deep. You may want to go back to this interview and write those little pointers down. So, Rochelle, what I want to ask you is, in terms of your athletics career, when did you call it done? Hey, this is it. I'm going to the bigger things.
Absolutely. So one of the things that a lot of people did not know is after I graduated college, I trained very briefly at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista, California. And at that time, I thought, and that was 2 years after I started training again, 2 years after I graduated college. And at that point in time, I thought that I wanted to give track and field another shot because I felt within myself that I did not give it the best that I could in college. And I took the opportunity, I think it was back in 2016, 2017, where I decided, hey, I'm going to do this thing again. And I got the opportunity to train, with some of the best athletes in the world. And I think it was maybe 6 or 8 months after I started training at my first event, my first track meet, I got injured. So it was at that point, I'm like, you know what? I gave it another shot. And at the time I wasn't feeling it anymore. I decided, hey, this was great. It took me a far way. I'm so grateful for that talent and what it brought me to and what it blessed me with. But at that point in time, I decided, hey, okay, something else is in store for me. And that's when I decided that it's not the path for me anymore.
Okay, so after Mississippi State University, where was your next journey?
So after Mississippi State, like I mentioned just now, there was a move. I moved to San Diego, California, where I decided I tried to get back into track and field, and I trained. I trained for a little bit and it didn't work out for me. And then after that, I moved into banking. That's when I decided, hey, I'm going to begin my career or my shot at a career. And at the time, because I had my degree in kinesiology, clinical exercise physiology. And here I was thinking, oh my gosh, banking sounds good. And, I got a job as a banker at the time, and it turned out to be a great experience, and I loved it. And I decided, hey, okay, this is something that interests me, and that's when I jumped, 2 feet into the financial world and started my career there.
Okay, so the lady who deals with money. All right.
Yes, it's not one. It's just the general financial wellness of a person, financial aspect of life. And that taught me not only to help other people, but how to help myself, to make myself better in that respect. So I am grateful for that opportunity.
All right. Now that you speak finance I know is one of the biggest problem, whether it be in a relationship, just in a home, managing your money and what you do with your time, seems to be such a challenge. So could you just tell us a little, about how important it is to start balancing or budget or just handling our finance?
Oh yeah, it is essential. It's paramount to success in many areas of life. As you just mentioned, finances pretty much dictate how a lot of things turn out. Like they said, there's this statistics, these statistics that mention that, you know, in a divorce, like finances usually is the cause of a lot of divorces in America, not just in America, but in general. So it is essential to first and foremost um, invest in your own financial wellness. So beginning with, building a budget. I didn't, these are things that I didn't even know myself until I got into finances, that I started to use those same advice in my own life. And that's how I began turning my own life around. So it's simply, starting with a budget. What are your goals? What are your financial goals? And investing, saving and spending. And a lot of people, including myself in the past, had no plan whatsoever. It's just spending, spending, spending. And at the end of the month, you don't know where your money is. You don't know what you spend your money on. And I feel like a lot of people, again, including myself in the past, was really afraid of looking at in areas that you're spending your money in. For example, if you have a credit card or, your debit card and whatnot, and you're every month you're buying things, but you're not checking your account, you're not looking on the things that you're spending on. So by the end of the month, you have no money and you don't know where the money went. So that's an essential part of your life if you want to be successful, and if you want to create generational wealth, if you want to build investments. That's definitely something that you have to pay attention to.
And Rochelle, with this, I know you're throwing out advice here, but if someone like me, you make the money, as you say, but not able to manage it all that well. And in terms of guiding someone into all these investments, are you able to do such? Basically, I know you're somebody who operates more like a mentor to somebody else, always there, looking out for somebody else. Can we reach out to you in such manner?
So there are certain things that I can talk about. So one of the things that I do recommend for anyone listening, for everyone, actually, is the first step is to decide what your goals are with your finances, and then move on to creating a budget and having different areas that you set aside money for, you assign funds to work for you, because it's not simply just about spending. And if you have a goal of retiring, near in the near future, or even if it's not the near future, for younger people, you can have something set aside and have as they call it, the army of dollar bills working for you, so that by the time you retire, you retire a millionaire. So these are certain things that you have to consider. What are your financial goals? And once you decide your financial goals, then you can take steps to work from there and how to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish.
Well, very, very good advice there. So, guys, you hear it. Start out with a budget. Know where that money is going. Know your goals. So, Rochelle, we really want to thank you for the knowledge that you're basically sharing with us here.
Absolutely.
And we're happy that you actually thought that this is a good field to go into. Into the banking world, where you said you learn a lot there.
Yes.
So, Rochelle, I say there's so much, that I would want to ask you. I don't know if time gonna permit, but I also hold in my hand here a book, and you will know this one too well. Elroy, How God Sees Me. A journey to discovering self-love, self-esteem, and self-confidence through the eyes of God. That sounds like a woman who is grounded in a godly principle. You're from a godly home. So, so we're just gonna quickly ask you to take us back in terms of your religion, in terms of family, and where you stand, and just give us a little insight on what inspired you to write such a book. Very interesting, that much I should say.
Absolutely. So those who know me, um, knows that I grew up. I was pretty much born in the church. I live down the street, couple blocks down the street from the church that I went to until I left Jamaica. So both parents were pretty adamant on us being raised, the children being raised in church, and trust me, I was going to church maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So I was pretty grounded and pretty pretty cemented in church. But even though, as children, we don't get the significance of, what church meant, or we didn't get the significance of a relationship with God. In the sense we were just, oh, mom says to go to church, okay, I'm going to go to church. So that was where it started for me. But when I became, a teenager, and I could understand better what the Bible meant, and what a relationship with God meant, that changed the entire thing for me. And that book, Elroy, How God Sees Me, that's a representation of not just the relationship that began as a child, but also a journey of who I was becoming, and how I wanted to view myself as a woman, as a person, and as an individual moving forward in life from that point. So I went through a dark period of my life when I decided to write that book. I went through a lot of losses. I had several losses at the time, and one being a relationship breakup. And I decided that I wasn't going to allow those things to define me. And when we go through losses in life, and when we're at rock bottom, we tend to think that we're less than who God created us to be. So it was in that moment where I was at one of my rock bottoms in life. Where I really dug deep, and I really decided, hey, I'm going to find myself. I am going to begin to see myself how God sees me, and how He wants me to see myself as a woman. And I decided to jump into the realm of self-love and self-esteem, and most importantly, perusing the Bible and studying the Bible, and seeing how God created me, and the mindset and the point of view of how I wanted to be, and not simply be defined by society's standards and definition of a woman. And that's kind of where the idea came from for Elroy, and that kind of led the way to finding Rochelle, and continuing to discover who I am, because this is a lifelong journey. So that's kind of where that started.
Sorry about that. My mic was muted a bit. So I just want to say, if you're someone out there who loves to read, even if you're someone like me who don't love reading, you'll enjoy this book. So, Rochelle, I know, we may lose a few of our audience. So before we go any further, we just want you to let the audience know where they can find this book, and just tell us, basically, probably from one of the chapters, why will they find this book interesting?
Absolutely. So you can find that book on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. So I think one of the greatest things about that book is that it reaches out to people, and not just women, but people who are searching for themselves, and who have maybe gone through a rough time, who may have gone through abandonment, who maybe gone through divorce, or maybe gone through a breakup in general, and just having a hard time seeing themselves as worthy and as valuable. And if you are that person going through that season of your life, that book in general will be a beacon of light to finding your true self. It's not a book where that tells you, hey, oh, you're, better than other people or anything like that. It's nothing like that, but it's just simply digging deep within yourself and knowing that you are valuable, you're worthy, you're lovable, even if you've gone through situations that may project a different image of you. So, if you're looking for, I guess, how your definition, that book will be great for you.
Oh, thank you. Guys, I basically read this book, and as I told you earlier, my daughter was also involved in terms of reading. I think this is her first book, trying to read along with daddy, and it was kind of amazing, and that had me going through, and I just see where you also quote Bible verses inside of the book, so you really dig deep.
Because a lot of things that I've found is that the Bible in itself, it's the definition of a lot of things that happen. I think it's a rule book, and that's kind of where I derive a lot of my principles from. So yes.
Okay, someone is calling me. I hope that person will recognize that I'm not taking any call at this time. And no disrespect, you guys may hear the ringing here. But in the meantime, as we sit back and look at that here that is just popping, as I say, I know we having some ladies who really want to get into the whole natural beauty, but we're just gonna have them wait a little while. In the minute though, I just want to welcome Richard Barrett, who is there, blessing to the family. He said, nice interview so far, Rochelle. And Sterling, we see you're coming in. You're not late because we haven't touched on the natural here as yet. So, guys, you're coming in. Yvonne, you're just coming in. You guys can share good night to you, Yvonne. And you can share the broadcast because we haven't gone into the natural beauty as yet. But I guess you guys have seen it from the beginning of the show. You look at Rochelle, the hairstyle is popping, and she's glowing, and it's just looking quite amazing. So, Rochelle, we just gotta let them wait just a little bit longer.
All right, all
So,
right.
with that, Rochelle, I just wanna get into because you're an author, and not just one book, because you have another book which covers the whole natural beauty, and I know that's what the ladies is coming in for tonight. But what I want to ask you, Rochelle, how difficult is it to get a book out there? I know you go through things in life, and all of us have a story, but
Right.
to actually get it into writing, you know, and to publish, how difficult is this journey?
Yeah, so actually it wasn't very difficult for me. I am quite introverted. I've always been an introverted person. I love to read. Growing up, I read so many books I lost count. I would read maybe 4 or 5 books in a week because that's all I did. I read, and I was in my own world. So at that point in time, I fell in love with reading and subsequently writing as well, because the more you read, you become a better writer. And it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago actually, that I really took writing seriously. But like you mentioned, everyone has a story, and I have many stories to tell, and that was one of my stories that I wrote my first book. It wasn't very difficult. It wasn't a very difficult thing for me because it became a passion of mine, and it became a part of my purpose, because that purpose was born through one of my pain points. And at that moment in time, I was willing to put it on paper. And as long as you have a story to tell and you're willing to tell it and you're passionate about it, I think that you have the foundational pieces to begin writing a book. So it's not about, because at first I was, being a very private person, being a very introverted person, I was very hesitant on writing anything and putting it out there for anyone to read it. So as long as you're not afraid, as long as you have that courage to put whatever story you have on paper and you can put it out there, you can do it. So it's not a difficult thing to do.
Okay, so for you, the fact that you were going through a period there, and you found it easy because you're somebody who reads a lot, and is just, as you said, reading make it easier to write. But what about those who have a story and unlike you, not a reader, or don't like to visit the library, but you have a story and you know that's a story that is worthwhile sharing, and as a matter of fact could actually motivate and uplift another person. you know what advice would you give to that person in terms of helping them to get those words or whatever it is they want to get out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're someone who doesn't like to write or read or anything of that nature, but you do have a story to tell, I mean, there are ghostwriters out there who will write your book for you. If you decide that, hey, I have this awesome story, or I have this story that can help someone get out of a tough spot or a tough space, but you are not sure, or you don't like to write. There are other options. Ghostwriting is another option that you can pay someone to write that book for you, um, and get your story out there. Or if you don't want to put it in writing or in a paper form, you can have a blog. You can have a vlog. Do videos if that's more comfortable for you to get your story out there, or through Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, whatever the case may be. You have different options. So it's not just writing. You can get your story out in different forms.
And in terms of getting a book published, how difficult is it to actually find a publisher that will take your book and publish it?
So it depends on the material. It depends on what you're writing about. It depends on, I mean, there are other options. You don't have to go the traditional route in publishing. You can self publish, as many authors are doing right now. You can be an independent author. It's very easy. You can publish through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and there are other different options. Kindle. There are other different options, um, other than the traditional route. And I self-publish all of my books. So that's the thing. I had with my first book, I started working with a publisher, but I decided against it because um, they do have a say over what you write and how you put it out there. And I wanted my story to be what it was. And so it's not just the traditional route. You can definitely do your own thing and self-publish.
All right. So could you just tell us how many books you have written to date?
Yes. So I published 3 books so far. So I have the first book, which is Elroy, How God Sees Me, and the second book is 10 Essentials to Grow Long, Healthy, Natural Hair, and then the third book is for women who are transitioning from relaxed hair, or chemically done hair. It could be color treatments or relaxers, and who are transitioning to natural hair. So that gives you the breakdown on how to um, I guess the education and relaxed hair and natural hair, and how to jump from relaxed hair to natural hair. So there are many options for you there.
It's today. Somebody I put out on my status on WhatsApp, and somebody was telling me about the relax to natural. They're like,
Yeah.
they be in this, but they said, did somebody really wrote a book on this? I said, yeah, there's some. There's,
Oh yeah. There are several books out there about transitioning from relaxed to natural hair. Because here's the thing that I found. Um, is that many black women, they choose to wear weaves and wigs and stuff like that, which nothing is wrong with that. If that's your thing, then go with it. But they're unaware on how to properly care for natural hair. And because I was natural until I was 12, and then I relaxed my hair for high school, and then after college I decided to go back to having natural hair. So it's not a right or a wrong thing, but many women I have even now asking me questions on how to maintain their natural hair because they don't know. And like myself, many women have had relaxers since they were like 3, 4, 5, and haven't had the opportunity to really learn how to care for the natural hair and how it works, and what products to use, and what affects the natural hair and what prevents it from growing. So these are different things that I do write about to help women to learn how to grow that natural hair out and be comfortable wearing their natural hair, because many times society doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for, support many women with, especially my hair type, with the 4C type hair, where the hair that they call nappy, the hair that they call ugly, so that's the thing that's preventing many women from going back to their natural hair, because they claim it's too difficult to care for, it's too hard, it's too tough to comb out, it breaks the comb. So there are different things that I write about to help them to overcome those things.
All right, Rochelle. You mentioned a few things there, but I'm just gonna. I'm from Saint Elizabeth, the Patois community. Well, Patois sometimes is a little bit different from others, but in my area, a lot of the ladies, if you have natural hair, and as you say, challenging to comb, and sometimes it's just all out in the wind, and you'll hear people call you all mop head picking, you all nappy head,
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. So that's one of the things that they struggle with, and a lot of women claim that men aren't attracted to their hair, and they're like, oh, why is their hair like that? And in order to fit in order to be, quote unquote, have a man, like they want to do the weaves and the wigs, because they claim that men don't like natural hair. So that's one of the things that I've been hearing quite a bit lately. So
So with
yes.
that, what is your message to a young girl who is just basically learning about life, trying to find themselves, and how would you talk to such a young lady to just keep it all natural and let them know that they're beautiful, and their natural hair is popping, because look at you, it's popping.
So absolutely. So what I would say first and foremost is that you are beautiful just the way you are. And a lot of women and young girls aren't taught that message. And I was one of those young girls who wasn't taught that message. Being dark skinned, I was called, blackie and all of these different things, and saying that my dark skin wasn't beautiful, and that was something that I had to overcome. That was something that I had to um, replace. I had to renew my mind, and I had to transform who I was, what I was thinking about myself. So the first thing I would say is that you're beautiful just the way you are. You're here how God created you, how God made you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And to accept yourself, learn to accept yourself for who you are, and that you can succeed, you can overcome, and being who you are is good enough. So that's the first thing. That's the foundation of what I would tell a young girl.
Well, as you say it there, Rochelle, I wish it was that easy. So we know that young girls, especially when they're transitioning 16 years old and up, because most young girls, when they cream their hair or relax it or process it,
Right.
it's right at the age that they're about to leave high school. They think they're getting there.
Right.
So, it's easy to say, you're beautiful and all, but when you have peer pressure, because you're gonna find those kids that into the hairstyle and the big hairdo, and graduation is coming and all these things. What do you think peer pressure have to do with some of our young girls going for the process here, and the wigs and the weaves and all these synthetic stuff?
Right. So definitely peer pressure and influence, because that's the strategy of marketing in general. Um, Marketing tells you that you need what they're selling, and I'm in business, so I understand marketing, right? Marketing sets out to tell you that what you have right now is not good enough, and you need makeup to be more beautiful. Whatever they're selling you, this will enhance who you are. It may not directly tell you, oh, you're not good enough, but it will tell you, hey, this what I'm selling you is going to enhance you. It's going to make you more acceptable. It's going to make you more beautiful. Whatever the case may be, it will make you more popular, more look more successful. Whatever the case may be, it is selling you something, right? And when you're in a group, when you're in a group and a part of something, you want to assimilate, you want to be a part of that group. So when you have society, or you're in a group of friends and they're telling you, oh, hey, do this will make you cool, this will make you accepted, this will make you acceptable, it is difficult to go your own way. It is difficult to have a mind of your own, but it is essential. It is essential to finding who you are and being steadfast in your values and beliefs and principles. You have to create those things that keep you in check, that define you, and know for yourself who you are. That's why I wrote that book, because it is essential. It was something that I struggled with immensely, and it's something that I'm still working on, but I've gotten a better grip on defining who Rochelle is and knowing, hey, yes, society has different standards. Yes, there are different people around you who have different opinions. But at the end of the day, am I okay with who I am? At the end of the day, am I walking in purpose? Am I walking in the most authentic sense of self, the most authentic me? And it was at that point that I realized that, hey, yes, a lot is going on around me, but if I am not at peace with myself, nothing else matters. So with, young girls coming up, nothing is wrong if you want to, do the chemicals on your hair and whatnot, but make sure that you're doing it. Make sure you're okay with yourself first. Make sure that you're doing it for you, and make sure that whatever it is that you're doing it from the depths of within, and not just from peer pressure. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right. So before I go to my next question, I just want to know that audience, whoever is tuning, and if you have a question that you want to ask, you could just type it in, and we'll see if we address probably a few of the questions. So, Rochelle, a question to you is how difficult it is to keep it all natural, because I know you said at one point you had relaxed and do things to your hair, then you went back to your natural hair, which is looking really good. That's the word I'm gonna use tonight, right through popping, But how difficult it is to keep it looking as beautiful as your hair is looking tonight.
So it is not difficult, because it was a mindset change for me. Whenever you make a change for yourself, and when you make a change from for a purpose, then you will walk in that direction without an issue. So I made it a point of duty for me to dive deep into, first and foremost, it began within, finding who I am, my most authentic natural self. And then it came to the hair. And at that point in time, when I was getting relaxers, my hair was very thin, it was breaking off. I had bald patches at one point because the chemicals were burning my hair out. So it was at that point I watched this video on YouTube, and it was, talking about discussing the harmful effects of the chemicals in relaxers and how they affect Black women in general. And because we are Black women, are the culprits of using chemicals most of the time. We make up the majority of getting the relaxers. It leads to fibroids, health issues within women. And after that education for me, it was a mindset change. It was a transformative, mind frame for me. And I decided, hey, I'm going to take better care of myself, and my health is important. So that's where it began for me. And from then it was, I never looked back, and it's been going great.
Yeah, so that was a question I was gonna ask you. What prompted you, the fact that you have dug so deep that you have gone as deep as writing 2 books,
Yes.
and on the whole natural hair and caring for your hair, but now you're basically telling me you had search inside, and you see this, chemicals and all these stuff could cause ill health.
Yes.
And so you really decided to take it on personal. So, So we thank you for coming up, with your own means, of solving some of the issues that are faced by young ladies, young girls out there. And guys that are the ladies, you gotta wait a little more, for the secret magic, formula, 10 essentials. We're not gonna give you all of them because you gotta go there and get the book now. But we're gonna hear a little bit more about these 10 essential and the whole natural hair and transitioning guide. Those are two of the books written by Rochelle, also Elroy, How God Sees Me. So that three books from the author. We gonna say, Rochelle, congratulations. We love the journey.
Thank you.
And as we are here, I just want to welcome Mr. Stuart Wallaby. Welcome to the platform. Natural hair. Let me put it up here. It's the best. And for me, I love a girl with natural hair. My wife, she's all natural now, but she still search for secrets to keep it going, and glowing.
Right. It's I see beauty in it every day. And again, not everyone will favor it, but if it's something that you want to do, go ahead and do it.
All right. So yeah, so go ahead and do it. Yeah, just like Nike, just do it.
I was gonna just like Nike, just do it.
But what I want to ask you is, how expensive is it to maintain this natural look?
So, a lot of a lot of people say, oh my gosh, natural hair products are so expensive and it's this and that. But the problem is that I've seen is that women want to try every product in the book, and I use maybe 3 or 4 products on my hair. It doesn't take 10 different products. It doesn't take 15 products to get your hair healthy and long. It does not. So that's where the discrepancy is coming in, in the discussion of how expensive caring for natural hair is. It is not very expensive. The products may be more expensive, of course. The natural hair products will cost more. But if you pick 2 products, 3 products, and use those products, it will work for you. But the problem that I have seen so many times is that women want 10 different products and try 50 million products, and it's not necessary. So I see it as it's not any more expensive than, treating relaxed hair. So it's just how you look at it.
All right, Rochelle, this one, I witnessed this, in terms of the products and trying a whole ton of products. Sometimes I am just getting tired or making muscle to pick up boxes coming from Amazon, and it's hair products, all this thing.
Yeah.
My wife is natural. The 2 kids, the 2 baby girls, they're all natural, and she's always looking for things that will work with their hair, because everyone's hair is different, and it behaves different to different chemicals are different. So how difficult is it, Rochelle, for you to select a product that work with your hair? How difficult is that to find that right product, or that 1 or 2 product you talk about?
Right. So for me, it began with trial and error. So one of the things that I do talk about in my books and on my platform is trying different things. And they have sample sizes of products that they sell. So you don't have to buy the full product to try on your hair. So different product companies, they have small sample sizes that they sell for, reasonable prices that a woman can select and try it on her hair. And in my book, one of the things that I do talk about is hair porosity. That helps you to find what products work best for your hair. And that's the first step in discovering, what types of products work for you and how it's gonna, affect your hair, is discovering what your hair's porosity is. And that discovery for me helped me to choose the types of product that will work for my hair. But it will all begin with trial and error, because every woman's hair is different. And even if your hair looks like mine, it may not have the same porosity. So that's the first step. I believe that will help.
All right, Rochelle. So I don't want to get too far and we don't talk about 10 essentials, of having healthy hair like yours, you
Yes.
know. All right, so we know it's 10 essentials. Can you just give us at least a little of one essential? So there's still nine hanging out there, and very important one that you may go further in discussion with inside of the book.
Absolutely, sure. So you mentioned earlier about me telling them the secret of growing hair, but there is no secret. There is absolutely no secret to growing long, healthy hair. So the first thing that I want to touch on is genetics does play a part in, how your hair grows and your hair growth rate. But in terms of the types of products that you use, it solely depends on what works for your hair and your hair's porosity. But one of the most important things that I talked about in that book, and that I just mentioned, was hair porosity. That's very important in discovering what. So there are three levels of porosity. You have low porosity, medium porosity, or normal porosity. Then you have high porosity. I personally have low porosity hair. So what that means, porosity is defined as the hair's ability to accept and retain moisture. So me having low porosity hair, it takes quite a bit to get my hair wet. And but when it does get wet, it stays wet for a long time because the cuticles are laid flat on my hair strands. High porosity is just the opposite. Your hair accepts water and moisture very readily, but it loses moisture and water quickly just the same. So it's just, once you know what type of hair you have, then you can find the products that will work for your hair. So my hair likes lighter products. The consistency of the product has to be light to enter the hair strand. And on my hair as well, when I'm moisturizing my hair, I tend to use warm water because that helps to lift the cuticles and allow products to enter the hair strands easily. So that's kind of how I know how to care for my hair, because I know the porosity. I can use the techniques and tools to maintain my hair, thus, having longer, healthier hair. So that's an important aspect of that.
Okay, I can almost feel the ladies listening on you there, Rochelle, because you go deep in that one, even using the warm water. Um, Rochelle, so since the ladies are over there having a good time listening in, I'm gonna let them wait a little bit more, before we even go any further with the relax and transitioning. So,
Okay.
Rochelle, there's a situation, or in terms of men, but we haven't mentioned anything about men. We all have hair on our heads,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we all care for it, and many of us have trouble or issues with our hair. And one of the biggest one that I see among men is a bald spot. Most of them would carry a bald spot from here, and then it start eating till goes way back. And if you don't mind, they don't have any hair in a few years. The next time you see them around, they're just maintaining a shine head. Could you expand a little on this? And I know that you're all into hair, so you must have looked into it. What possibly caused this, and is there any treatment out there or anything that they can do?
So what you just mentioned is male pattern baldness. So some men, it's genetic. Unfortunately, it is genetic for some people, and there is nothing that can fix that. So a lot of men go bald because of that um, genetic reason. So it would depend. So treatment would depend on what causes the baldness. So, for example, I can't speak a lot for men because I'm not well versed on what causes male pattern baldness and what men struggle with in their hair. It could be hormones, it could be a bunch of different things, it could be medication that does affect your hair growth. Uh, so, for example, for a woman, they may wear tight hairstyles and it may cause traction alopecia, for example. There's treatment for that. If the follicle isn't damaged, then there are certain treatments that can regrow that hair. Okay, but if the hair is damaged from within in the scalp and the follicle is damaged, then it's a possibility that the hair will not regrow. But hormones, like I mentioned, does determine, um, and medication. It could cause, hair loss and different things, but definitely genetics is a huge part of that baldness. So there are a whole lot of factors, and I would recommend someone speaking with a dermatologist and discovering different treatments and what could work for their specific situation.
Okay, man. I hope that touch. So if we know anyone with bald head, we could give them a little advice. Dermatologists, start right there. All
Yes.
right, Rochelle. So we're gonna go over to the next book, which is the Natural Hair Transform
Trans-
Transition Guide. How to transition from relax to natural hair. For me as a guy, I don't even know the difference between relaxed and not relaxed.
Yes. So I can touch a little on that for you. So the relaxed hair is the hair that is chemically relaxed. So I used to get relaxers done every what couple months, every 6 to 8 weeks as they recommend. So it's just getting the hair, putting the chemical on the hair and get it straight. So the hair is permanently straight after that. And in the book, because I went through that process myself. So transitioning from the relaxed to natural here is a process. So what I really touched on, because a lot of women are deciding to go the natural route, so I really gave them the expectations in that book of what's going to happen during that transition, how to transition, and the different ways that they can transition from the relaxed to the natural here. Okay, so the two ways that you can transition is one. The number one way is called the big chop. That's what I did. Or you can do a long-term transition. So if you don't want to cut your hair off, I had a really short hair, maybe 3 inches of hair when I started out. I cut my hair off and I just grew it out. Um, but if you don't want to go that route, you can leave your hair as is and do not get any more relaxers. So as time goes on, your natural hair will grow out. And over time, you'll just clip the ends of the relaxed hair until you have no more relaxed hair left. So that you could decide you're going to do it for 2 years or 3 years or whatever the situation or time frame is for you. But it's a choice. So in that book, I really expound on the different things to expect, the different products you can use during a transition, and what to really expect as you're going through that process.
Oh, sorry about that. I want you to just lean back a little so they get to see the entire hair. So there you go, guys. A hair that have been transformed from relaxed to natural. Uh, and I know, thumbs up for that hairstyle. As I said, it's popping tonight.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
glowing. So, ladies, I'm telling you guys, whatever Rochelle is doing, gotta be working. She spent a few years, I guess, going through, with her own hair. So, Rochelle, that's two books that you would have on the whole caring for the hair. And if somebody just join us, I just want you to throw it out there. I don't want no one to come on here and say, "Hey, I didn't know where to go find these books." So let them know again where we find them.
On Amazon, Amazon.com is a primary place, and Barnes and Noble. But you can also find the natural hair books in my Etsy shop. Excuse me. So it's etsy.com/shop/Afro Kinky Hair. So you can find all my products there and all my natural hair books in that store. So you can, if you want to get a copy, you can go to either Amazon or my Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/Afro Kinky Hair.
All right. I like the fact that you come up with Etsy store. So here we're talking to athletes transition into we call it now sports. And come on, Rochelle, help me out with your major in sports. Like
My
physiotherapy.
my major in college, clinical exercise physiology, so kinesiology.
Okay,
Yes.
kinesiology. All
Kin-
right. And now I ain't gonna tie my tongue up. I'm St. Elizabeth. Okay. I don't see if I can chop that one up in Patwa. All right. So We're gonna have Rochelle at the end of this program to type out a few things on this particular broadcast. But she's also a banker, and now, guys, author, and she just exposed that part, her business side of her entrepreneurial side. So, Rochelle, we want you to just tell us, where did this transition from a student athlete loving sports
Mhm.
to now being an entrepreneur, having your own store? Tell us even more about the store and that you have, what you have going on.
Absolutely. So, I believe that thinking back, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. That's what I saw. Growing up, it was multiple sources of income. So I've always had that mindset. It didn't manifest itself fully until maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I started to transition from the athletic mindset into now coming into my own and coming into myself and deciding like, hey, okay, what am I going to do with my life, and what direction do I want to go in? So I've always seen entrepreneurship around me, and you know it was something that I decided to hone and to expand on, and it has been one of the best times of my life, because as I grow and I change, and I learn new things about myself. I see ways, I identify ways, and how I can monetize that, and how I can um, turn it into a passion that not only serves me but serves other people. So aside from my books and my natural hair products, I also have two other stores that I run. So one is called La Rochelle. That is basically, it's one side of caring for the skin. It's a natural skincare product company that I decided to start because when I started my natural hair journey, I decided to turn my entire health and wellness around. So that became skincare, that became mindset, that became hair, that became career and my life. So I decided to create skincare products that are natural and organic, that works well with the skin, and that's kind of where it stemmed from for me. And you can find those stores on Etsy as well. I sell healthy and organic natural skincare products that will have your skin glowing, and just having healthy ingredients that does not harm the body. So that's the most important thing for me.
Okay, just listening, I can see you're someone who is basically thinking, doing a
Yes.
complete body health transformation. And definitely it seems like it's working out for you on that side. Especially we can see now, I didn't know much about the skin, but I've been saying it all night, you're glowing. So so guys, some of the secret is coming out here. So we know, Rochelle, you're into making your own product.
Yes.
Could you tell us more about that? And you having a passion, I said basically you have gone deep to write a book, create a product. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I have always been a creator. I see myself as a creator, and um, I find problems and I solve them. That's the basis of any business. And that's one of the problems that I had within my own life. And I set out to solve that problem. And I saw that it was other people's problems. And I could turn that into a business. So, you know, I I wanted to feed my body, my mind, healthy, great things. So I started out. I took chemistry in high school, and not just in high school. I did a little bit in college as well, and I decided to go back to that route, so to speak. So I formulate. I learned how to formulate my own products, and it was something that I started out just as a hobby, just for myself and friends and family, and it blossomed into something greater than I could ever imagine, and it's continuing to grow. And just sitting down and coming up with the numbers, and sitting down and finding the products, and discovering the what's the word I'm looking for, the different products and how they affect the body, the and putting that all together to make something significant, to create something that changes the hair or the body. That was paramount to my success and my happiness, and it's still continuing, so I'm grateful for that.
Okay, so as I say, you're doing a whole total body thing here, and now I've seen why you've been posting so much food to nutrition.
Yes, that's another thing. Eating well, eating healthy, eating good foods. That's woo. Let me tell you something. During the pandemic hit everybody hard, and I was not exempt. And during that time, I started eating things that I had no business eating, and my skin. I saw the change in my skin. I saw the change in my mindset and how I felt within my body. And then I said to myself, you know what? It's not just what you put on it; it's what you put in it, because you are what you eat. So that's essential.
No, 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 really and truly, I see you cooking up a storm. Most of these time, I see you put up these plates and these dishes. I'm like, what the hell wrong with me, Rochelle over this?
I love to cook. I love it. I enjoy it. So I cooked a lot. So yes.
Well, tell us what's your favorite dish.
So I don't think I have a, well, let me stop saying that. So Jamaican food, I've had many different cuisines. I've tried different foods, but I'm going to be biased and say that Jamaican food is the best. And rice and peas, ackee and saltfish, jerk chicken, fish, fried fish. So those are some of my favorite foods. So yes.
All right, so I've seen you have done a lot of deep research, study, formulation, and all that stuff. Looking at where you are now and taking a look back, is there anything that you'd have done differently when you just started out in this whole transitioning process?
You know what? I am tempted to say that I would change something, but at the same time, and I can be honest with myself and with everyone and say that who I am now, I could not be her had it not been for everything that happened in the order that it happened, in the season that it happened. And while I would say, oh my gosh, I wish, you know, I could have gotten my ways in some other season of my life, I think that everything that happened in the order that it happened was supposed to happen, because I've grown so much from them and I've learned, and I was able to be an introspective person and be hold myself accountable in a lot of areas of my life because of those things that happened. So I will say that, you know, I would simply tell myself while I was going through those things that it was going to be okay. It's going to work out at the end of it. So that's the only thing I would say about that.
Okay, that sound pretty good. Um, so right now, Rochelle, you know, we know you're an author, which is always challenging to get words to paper or just to get that out there, you know, entrepreneur at large. So what we really want to know is how difficult it is to say start up your own business, you know, your own company, you know, diving in full out. How difficult is it?
Well, it would depend on what you have going on and where your mindset is at. For me, it took a lot of hard work. There were seasons, there were times when I wanted to quit. there were times when it got so difficult for me because at one point, you know, with balancing, you know, my career and being an entrepreneur, it is a very difficult thing to do. And I had to learn priority, I had to learn discipline, and I had to learn also not just working hard, but working smart, right? And it became a situation where I had to learn resilience, and at the end of the day, decide what the outcome was, like what outcome I was looking for. And once I decided, hey, this is what I wanted at the end of the day, that gave me the motivation to work for it. So it's your why. It was my why that kept me going, because I'm telling you, it is not easy. It is not easy. And but anything worth having, anything worth fighting for is never going to come easy. So I had to dig deep every single day. And that's where discipline came in, because when you want to quit, if because there are going to be many days that you want to quit, it's just remembering your why. It's remembering the discipline and the principle behind why you're doing what you're doing. So that's what I will say about that.
All right. So if you don't mind me asking, who are some of the people, or whether it be a mentor or it's a grandma, auntie, you know, who are some of the people who you go to, you know, when things are just that challenging, you know, things not going the way you want them to go? Because we see you never quit. So, you know, oh,
Well, I can be honest and say, first and foremost, I go to God, I pray, because I couldn't do it on my own strength. I couldn't do it by myself, only without having the mindset that God has my back. So that's first, and the first thing that I always remember and that I always tell myself. Because at the end of the day, even if you have people around you, and that's essential, you need people around you, there are going to be certain things and certain times that you want to give up, and those people can't help you. Those people can't, even though they're speaking into your life. That's awesome, and there are times when I did not have that. I'm going to be honest with you. There are times when it was just me, and I didn't have the support, and it was God and me. And that's when I learned that, hey, God has my back. And that's how I learned how to dig deep within myself. And when I want to quit, I fell back on my discipline. I fell back on speaking life into my own self. Because I can tell you now that a lot of people out here who are trying to do something, who are trying to build something, they don't have the support of family or friends. They don't. And there are going to be days, I'm telling you, that you're going to want to quit, but you're going to have to remember who you are and what you want. And if you fall back on your faith and who God is to you, trust me, you'll overcome every time. But also, I have a system set up where because you need motivation, not just with discipline, you need motivation as well. I listen to different tapes. So I listen to Les Brown, I listen to Tony Robbins. Jay Shetty is another one that I listen to, that gives me perspective at times when I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I listen to those tapes, and those things kick me back into reality of what's going on, because anything worth having is not easy. If you're working for something, and working for success, it's going to be hard at times. Um, so, and I do have people that I fall back on. I do have, friends and people along the way who God sent. Not necessarily people who started out with me at the beginning, because you're going to evolve as a person and you're going to change. And God have sent people in my life who have helped me along the way, supporters, friends who speak into my life and pour into my life as well. So I'm grateful for everyone who've helped me along the way.
all right, Rochelle. So I think I see another mean of you coping during this time. And you're from a country that produced one of the best known reggae artists in Bob Marley. And on your post, I see you with your guitar, like you're. So music seems to be a way of you, you know, getting over some of those hurdles, as you go through life. Just tell us a little about, the type of music that you listen to.
Yeah, music is a huge outlet for me. Um, I have my guitar. I bought this guitar last year, and I decided that I was determined, that I was going to learn how to play. And I've been teaching myself, and I took some lessons here and there, and I've gotten a lot better, and I'm getting a lot better at it. But music, like they said, when music hits you, you feel no pain, right? And it has been an essential part, a crucial part of my everyday life. And some of the music that I listen to, aside from reggae, because I do love reggae, I listen to a lot of neo soul. So I listen to, a lot of India RE, Lauryn Hill. I listen to Erica Badu. But also, I am an old school kind of woman. So I go back to, the Temptations. I go back to, the Gap Band or Four Tops, Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle. I listen to a lot of music. So it ranges from, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I listen to, old school R&B, but gospel is on the top of my list when I'm in, deep and dark moments. So I have a wide range of music that I listen to.
So you're not brushy one string, your guitar.
No.
All right.
But yes, music is life. I love music.
Were you a part of the church choir?
I was. I was since I was a kid. I've been in the children's choir. We would join with the Santa Cruz New Testament Church of God, and the middle quarters choir. So we'd have combined choirs. So we'd have like going from church to church in the district, and we would sing on the choir. So yes, I've been singing the choir since I was a kid.
Somehow, Rochelle, I think we have crossed paths earlier in life, but we're gonna go back to Warminster
Yes,
Church, that
yes.
little church. I think it was a big robin tree right there. I used to travel up with Mr. Trung, come to
Oh,
up
yes.
to that church, and I know Mr. Adams, Kenneth Adams, is probably the one up there now. You
Yep.
know, so early um discipline in terms of knowing God, Sister Chung and Mr. Chung was the home that, I really got most of my teaching, and, I think without Sister Chung and Mr. Chung, I would never be the person I am today because that side of me was lacking. My mother, yes, she sent us out to Sunday school, but that was it. But, at Sister Chung home, we were basically sit down and taught, you know, we could not, if I wasn't going to a track, I started out with track and field. If I wasn't going to a track and field meet, if I wasn't playing cricket and it's a Sunday and I'm at Miss Strong house, you have to go to church. That was just part of the boarding rule. So they played a very instrumental part of my life, and I know you have crossed path with them. I just ask that you speak a minute on these people because I know, they're great influence.
Oh yeah, I've met everyone who you mentioned. I mean, Pastor Adams is the pastor there now, but he was the pastor. He was my pastor since I was maybe 9 or 10 or something like that. He's been there quite a while. And before that, of course, Sister Chong used to come all the time. So I know her family. She knows my family. And Mr. and Mrs. Gardner. So basically, I mean, I used to go to Santa Cruz church all the time. So I know a lot of the people, especially in my age group. We grew up singing in the choir. Some of us went to school together, high school, and their parents. I knew their parents because it was all a small world because we're in the same district of church. They know everyone knows everyone. So they're good people. And like I said, Sister Chung, she had a lot of people come through her home, and she was a great influence on a lot of them. Some of them I went to school with, some of them I'm friends with to this day. So that foundation is essential, and it guides me even to this day. So yes.
All right, I see Steve put a play for us. Please, but Steve, I leave that one for Rochelle probably another day.
Not,
But you know,
not tonight.
but Russell, I don't think it
Not
will
tonight.
surprise. It would surprise us to see you venture out into music. We'd love to see someone like you with all that natural hair out there with your guitar, taking it away.
I don't know about that. No, that's not my strong suit. So, not no. I just do it for fun. I do it for enjoyment, and just for to expand who I am as a person. So it's not going to be a situation for the world to see.
So
Yeah.
with that, may I ask what's next on the list for Rochelle?
You know what? Anything is. I will say anything is possible. I am in the space that I am right now, and I'm growing as a person, and as a businesswoman, and as an individual. So I am here now, and I will say anything is possible for Rochelle, but I can't say for sure what is coming next. But I believe greater things are in store.
All right, Rochelle. So with those products that you have created, because you said you basically create your product to solve a issue, that either you have or somebody else may be going through.
Yes.
Um, what if Steve put up a text here? I'm already laughing, so I'm gonna put it across because probably I won't be able to finish this question because he kind of threw me off right there because he threw another question in, but say if somebody want to learn more about the products that you have on the market and how they work for you and how they may work for them, how would they be able to connect with you, to get further insight into whether it's a transitioning guide or whether it's all about the 10 essentials, or they just want to learn more about the physical product and what it does? How would they be able to get a hold of you on these issues?
Absolutely. So if someone wants to contact me, my email is afrokinkyhair@gmail.com. You can ask me any questions that you have there, and I will respond to you. But also anything about the products, they're also in the book, and you can find information about the products in the Etsy store, because for each listing, I have a description of what the product is, what's in the product, how it will work for your hair, and that you will find that at the Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/afrokinkyhair. But if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'll get back to you.
Well, I leave this question here. So you just asked if we have any other question. Well, I see Steve put up marriage and smiles, so so obviously Steve just let out another secret because I never get there to find out if you're married or you're in a relationship or anything. So that one, if you want to speak on it, but that's a question there from Steve's marriage and smiles. It's all shaken. So I'll let you answer our decline.
So the only thing I will say on that, I am single at the moment. So that's the only thing I will say about that. I don't speak much about my personal life, but I am single at the moment.
You know, it better you didn't say a word. After this interview, I'm not responsible for any call or anything. Cause all right, Steve. So single. So boy, to find a lady that is single at this age and this stage and on top of their game, it's a tough one. So I believe some call will be coming in right here. Tell you just set yourself up.
No, 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 no calls.
I think you did. Thank God. Smile. So somebody's happy that you're not married,
Steve
basically.
is trouble. Steve is trouble.
All right, Steve. Anybody that goes to St. Elizabeth Technical High School, you can expect better. We're very fun people. We know how to, and we know how to make it. So Steve got me cracking up here tonight because I'm looking at a question, early. So Steve, we want to thank you for joining in, man. And it's really a pleasure, enjoy this conversation with Rochelle. Every time she comes on the show, she lit the show, as you can see, the smiles, white, beautiful teeth, perfect black, natural woman, you know.
Yes, it was a pleasure being here. It's always amazing to be on. So thank you again.
Yes, Rochelle. So, if there's any final word you want to say to the audience, the time is yours.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't have much to say, but if you have something that you want to accomplish, it is never too late to start. It is never impossible to accomplish whatever it is that your goal is for yourself. It all begins with the first step. You may not have everything planned out. You may not know what may happen next year, or next 2 years. So if you have something that you want to accomplish, go ahead and do it because only you can do it. And your friends, even if your friends and your family tell you it's a stupid idea, if you see that happening for yourself, if you see that this is something that you want to do, go ahead and do it. And the final thing that I want to say for everyone is know who you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're beautiful just the way that you are. And to just go for it. Like Mr. Walford Wallaby Stewart's brand says, go for it. Just go for it. That's all I have to say.
Well, again, on behalf of our viewers, on behalf of Together We Rise Building Our Nation, we just want to say we really appreciate you taking the time out, this Sunday afternoon. You seem to be a very busy young lady, so there's so much other things that you could have been doing, but yet still you take the time out to be here. You basically shed light on a few areas, especially on the natural beauty. You have gone so deep in that you have authored 2 books. You have created your own product. And you have means for someone who may be just going through that challenging time to manage your hair. They could still reach out to you through your email. And we just really want to say thanks and congratulations and continue going. The sky is the limit, but I'll never put limit on self. So just keep doing what you're doing. And
So, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
yep, real pleasure. So you go have a great night, Mr. Steve. Wally B, you next. So we gotta bring Wally B on. I know he's also an entrepreneur, having his own brand. So Mr. Wally B, if you're still on, we can really arrange that you come on here. I really love to see, the state students, and especially if you're from St. Elizabeth. I really love to see when they really, stand firm on our motto, work and integrity. Because
Indeed. Indeed.
those 2 words really have brought us this far and continue. So, just want to say big up to all the States fans and everyone that joined in here tonight. We really appreciate it. And, if you find substance in this one, you could share it with a friend, you know. And as I say, go out there, get your book. I think I have to get the other 2. So I gotta get the one for the here, those 2 for my wife. She's always searching for products. The kids, I know their here is a challenge to manage, and she's still on the search. So we're gonna get those books and let them read through. I don't think I'll be reading through. I'll let her do the reading.
Reading.
But we ask guys that you go out there and support. If it's just mean you buy the book, give it to a friend, and basically it's a way of saying, you appreciate what she's been doing, you know, from being an athlete, pivoted from the banking world, now author and entrepreneur. Rochelle, we are very pleased with your transitioning in terms of your personal life. Okay, take it easy.
Or have a good one.
All right.